Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, we are from group 3. Let me introduce myself. My name is Febi Rahmayanti and my friends.
I'm Donna Sylvia.
And I'm Alia Wainanuha.
So today we will show you guys our presentation about Chapter 9, Linguistic Anthropology. And let's begin. Linguistic anthropologists. Linguistic anthropologists use the methodologies of linguistics and anthropology to comparatively study the relationship between language and cultures, and how language influences social life. We have to know what culture is. Culture is a type of behavior that is learned rather than innate. It is a pattern behavior that is transmissible from person to person and throughout time primarily by language. Linguistic anthropology is a comparative discipline which aims to study individual languages. Use the information from the corpus of a language study to draw conclusions about commonalities in all languages or the range of variation for specific features of languages. How are languages the same or similar? How do they vary in terms of phonology, morphology, syntax, semantic, pragmatic, and any other feature of language? Okay, next, relationships of language to political power and economic success. First, the spread of English, which is now the most widely spoken second language and first language in the world, threatens many indigenous languages. The language that one speaks can acquire to power, influences, and wealth. English symbolizes wealth in some societies, and indeed it's becoming increasingly necessary to speak it to survive economically, academically, in the daily living world. English is the most frequently used of this language from business and other activities. Younger members of many societies are using English rather than their native speaker. They want to be economically, educationally, and politically successful. And we can see it is a percentage of some EU population who say that they speak English as a language other than their mother language. So, why the loss of a language is equivalent to the loss of cultural diversity and the loss of cultural identity? Each language, in its lexicon and grammar, reflects a culture, knowledge, and technology belief system, and every other social and cultural dimensions. Language also enables and mediates like culture and personal identity. Therefore, the loss of a cultural language is equal to the loss of a clear part of its culture and of the cultural identity associated with that language. Next, there are two main ways that language becomes extinct. So, one way for a language to become extinct is to change into something else. For example, ethnocide, or destroying a people's cultures. Another way for a language to become extinct is to die out altogether or to only leave a small tract that is once existed. Numerous native languages were lost completely or are on the verge of extinction because they suffered a major loss of speakers and have a new speakers.
Some of the attempts to revive endangered or extinct languages. The loss of languages corresponds to the loss of cultural diversity. The way to revive the endangered endemic language can be done by revitalization. We know that to keep languages alive, you have to 1. Create a robust immersive environment. Total immersion offers the best paths toward fluency. 2. Each community has different needs, and language revitalization goals are best steered by local stakeholders. 2. Give awareness to the whole society that ethnic language is an inseparable part. A society without its own language is like a society without culture. so it can be said that they have no identity. 3. It is also important to increase the visibility of minority languages in spaces, such as streets, schools, and the local and national press. 4. Using written documents and the remaining knowledge of a language ancestry, so that language can be reconstructed and being taught in several schools. Next, the concept of linguistic relativism and linguistic relativity. Linguistic relativism is the idea that each language is consistent and comprehensible within itself and must be studied as a unique system. Linguistic relativity proposes that people of different cultures think and behave differently because the languages they speak force or influence them to do so. Next, does language influence culture or culture influence language? An example of how language influences culture is 1. Color terminology. Color terminology is the set of words in a language that describe segments of the color spectrum. Color terms in English include words such as red, blue, green, white, and yellow. 2. Different languages. Different languages divided up in different ways and assign names to the segment of the spectrum. In fact, there are as many as 13 different lexical categories dealing with characteristics such as number, portability, animate, length, enclosed, solid, rigidity, not enclosed, liquid, and inanimate. Next, how culture influences language is kinship terminology. Kinship terminology is the set of words in a language that describe family relationship. Kinship terms in English include words such as mother, father, brother, sister, and others. 2. How culture influences language is involve the subsystem activities of the society. Next, how children are enculturated as they learn their language and culture. Before I explain about that, we must know what is the language enculturation. Enculturation is the process of learning one's culture, its values, belief, kinship system, economic system, and all other dimensions of the culture. Okay, so how children are enculturated as they learn their language and culture. Children learn their culture as they are learning their language. The words that are taught to children guide them in learning. What is important in their culture, children will use the kinship term. Children will use the kinship term mother for mother and also for mother sisters, father for father and his brother. Many of the people in the child village will be addressed as mother or father. Those people will in turn address the child as son or daughter.
How personal names as well as ethnic, racial, and social class and other labels might influence the development of person's identity and self-concept. Identify is a person's sense of self, who they believe they are in terms of ethnicity, gender, biological features, social class, political affiliation, age category, occupation, and place of birth of current residence. A person's identity and social behavior are influenced by what is one of the first linguistic labels that is attached to the person in many societies, his or her name. A person's identity can also be influenced by non-kinship labels that are used to describe that person. If a person is labeled as smart, dumb, or average, or as creative or unimaginative, or any other number of personal labels, this stereotyping and the work of self-fulfilling prophecies might influence the person's concept of who they are. A self-fulfilling prophecy is a positive or negative expectation, prediction, or assumption communicated about a person or event that may influence a person to act in a way consistent with such feedback, resulting in those expectations to be realized. Okay, next we're gonna talk about how ethnic pride is related to language nationalism. Language is an important part of the national identity for many ethnic groups. The right of peoples to speak the language of their choice or heritage has been a standard goal, a positive cultural value of anthropologists and people interested in indigenous rights. In fact, language has become a stand-in for culture, so language rights are equated with cultural rights. Next, we're gonna talk about language is power. The language that someone speaks in a multinational society or global economy might influence the power that person has. That is, it might change or limit the person's access to job and other economic resources, to educational opportunities, to political powers, and so on. The loss of a language means the loss of an important element of a culture. Language reinforces the global influence of the country where it's spoken. Whether or not it will one day become truly universal is up for debate, but there's no denying that it's powerful. Okay guys, that's all our presentation. We hope you guys can understand it. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.